Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. You're watching iAllegedly. And I've got a good one for you today because I'm going to give you some things. Don't ever do this. I'm going to just give you some solid advice. Basically, I'm going to do 3 things you should never do. Don't ever do this, please. And don't forget to comment in the video and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, please. And today we have a sponsor, Chuck Norris, and I will talk about him in a bit. But during these economic times when things are bad, people have to do desperate things. Payday loans, borrowing money that they shouldn't, hitting the credit card advances, things like that are just incredibly expensive. That's the beginning of it, because what's happening is that as people get more and more desperate, it gets ramped up and people do desperate things. I'm going to tell you 3 things that you should never do that I'm super familiar with, okay? The first one is what they call a car title loan. And there was a story that I found about a 32-year-old guy who's having trouble paying rent. I'm thinking about taking the title to my car and borrowing against it. This is a horrible idea, okay? And I'll tell you why, because basically there are 2 types of what they call auto pawn. And some of these are short-term loans where you can get a loan for 15 to 20 days. You take a paid off pink slip to a car, that's what we call it here in California, the pink slip to a car, and you give it to the lender. They hold it and they lend you a set amount of money at a very high interest rate. Now, think about this. They could lend you as little as $1,000 and charge you $250 interest. Doesn't seem that bad, but the problem with it is that this is like a 15-day loan. Let's do the math on that, okay? It's horrible. Now, the problem with this is that you can also do longer term loans, and absolutely terrible to do this in either, in any circumstance. I highly recommend that you don't do it for many reasons. The short-term loans, on average, think about this number, they get refinanced 8 times, because the problem is when you're in dire straits, people think, oh, you know what? I'm going to get that commission check, I'm going to pay this, I'm going to pay that, and then I'll get my car back. I'll get the title back in a week or 2. And then inevitably something happens. The car breaks down because they let you drive the car. Something happens where you need to spend the money, or you don't bring the money in and you can't pay it. Does that make sense? Uh-oh. So, this is a real problem. Do not do this. Now, there are companies that will do what they call installment loans, and they're at higher interest rate as well. While I was going through my divorce, I had some paid off cars, and I'm like, if I did this, let me investigate this, because I'm smarter than everybody else, which I wasn't at the time. And I went out and got these loans from people, and I got an installment loan that was 48 months, okay? Now, it seems great. It's like paying off a car. It's like just a 48-month loan. And it was not a lot of money, guys. It was $5,000 at the time. And again, for those of you men that have been through a divorce and okay, well, don't worry, things should mellow out right about now. And then you have hearing after hearing after hearing at $2,800 here, $3,000 there. Oh, this one's going to be cheap, Dan. It's only going to be $1,800 to have you go to court this time. You know what I mean? It was insane, okay? So the $5,000 went real quick. And it's not like borrowing from Bank of America or your auto loan place, just not. Now here's the crazy thing about this. I had a payment due on a Saturday, okay? A couple months into it. Payment was due on a Saturday. Sunday, my phone starts getting blown up about 7:30 in the morning. And I'm like, hello? What's going on? Who's this? Yeah, we're at the finance company for your car. We're coming to get the car right now because you didn't make your payment. I'm like, what are you talking about? Payment was on Saturday and I just got back into town. Well, it's fine. Let's see. Where's the car at? We're coming to get it now. Okay. So I had to hide the car because they did come over looking for the car. And I was blown away by that. And I was like, wow, you guys literally come if somebody's 1 day late? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna repossess the car. We're going to sell the car, and if you don't have enough equity in the car to cover your note with us, we're going to come and sue you, okay? So please understand, that happens with people all the time. Now, I'm telling you, I was telling this story at lunch with a bankruptcy attorney about a year and a half later, talking about different things in the economy and his clientele and things like that. And I told him that exact story. And he said, oh my gosh, what was the name of the company? And I forgot the name of the company this time because it was, 16, 15, 18, whatever it was, years ago. And I told him, he says, oh my God, do you know what that company does? That company will send spotters out to bankruptcy attorneys, and if they're close by a bankruptcy attorney, they'll scan the parking lot. I've had 2 clients have their cars. They're coming in for consultation. They borrowed money from that company and they got their cars repossessed. They walked out, oh, thank gosh, we're gonna go file bankruptcy, everything's gonna be great, and they don't have a car. So they have a bigger problem. So don't ever do this. I'm telling you, people get desperate. You haven't seen anything yet. Please, you have not seen anything yet. We're going to see complete and utter chaos moving forward. And it's only going to get worse. Now, regardless of who's in office, it doesn't make a bit of difference because the economy is slipping out of control. And everybody thinks they're smarter than everybody else. Just like Dan thought he was smarter than everybody else. These guys are hitting the ball all over the place and they suck. You know what's crazy about this golf course today? There is a a plane pulling a banner talking about refinancing your house over a golf course. I don't know if they're having a golf tournament today out here, but expensive advertising to refinance your house, but sign of the times. We get 0 down money. Contact us today. Okay? So share your thoughts on this stuff so far, but there's a lot more to cover on this. Let's talk about our sponsor, Chuck Norris. Let's face it, Chuck Norris is in amazing shape. In his mid-80s, you've seen all the memes where they talk about how tough he is, but there's something he did a few years ago that completely changed his fitness regimen. And the older we get, we need to worry about things like joint pain, belly fat, and just being slim. It's what we need to do. Chuck has put together a video for us, and if you go to chuckdefense.com/Dan, you can see what he did. It's absolutely free to watch this, but take a look at it today and see the difference that Chuck Norris made in his health and his life. He says he feels like he did when he was in his 50s. His wife did it, and she said she feels like she is 10 years younger. Take a look at this today. Chuck's got plenty of energy to work out, play with his grandkids, and it completely changed his fitness program, and you should check it out today. chuckdefense.com/Dan. And the best way to get a hold of these is use the link below on the video description and take a look at what Chuck Norris did to change his health and fitness. Look, we're wearing a uniform together. We're playing golf as a team. Doesn't that sound like fun? I'm gonna say no. Doesn't sound. Oh, yeah, got all of that one. Now the next thing is solar and solar leases. Don't ever do this. Don't ever do this. When the economy goes down, nobody plans on going broke, ever. Honey, we're gonna kill it. Things are gonna be great. Now, what happens is that people go out and they're sold a bill of goods when it comes to solar, especially here in California. They anticipate that the entire industry here could go out of business, and 80% of the companies in California, read the articles below, could go out of business. But the big problem is the solar lease. And what that is I'm just gonna use round figures, okay? Let's say you have a $350 a month electric bill, and then what you wanna do is you wanna go lease the solar panels, okay? Well, your payment, Dan's only gonna be $150 a month. You're going to save $200 a month, plus when deregulation hits with energy, your electric bill could go as high as like $800-900, but you're gonna be protected because you're gonna have the panels on your roof. You'll never have to worry about that. Your payment's gonna be $150. Well, that sounds good. Only problem is that the panels have what they call a UCC filing attached to them. In other words, it's attached to your house, but the financing is attached to the solar panels. And this is out there, spinning around in the world. And I found some great videos and some TikToks below that you can watch where people went out and they got solar leases on their house. And then, honey, we're having difficult times. Let's make the house payment. Let's not make the solar payment. Only problem is they go to sell their house and the buyer has to either take over the solar lease for these people, or they have to have somebody pay it off, either the buyer or the seller. And if the seller's already broke, they're not going to pay it off. So many houses are falling out of escrow right now because of these solar problems. Now, the rebates are gone, the incentives are gone, and it is ridiculous. And during my divorce, I went and worked for a company called Solar City because I thought I want to learn the technical side of construction and what's going on. And I heard about this guy named Elon Musk, and it was his cousins, Lyndon and what's his name? The other Reif brother. Anyways, forgot. But anyways, the Reif brothers ran the place and Elon was the chairman. So long story short, I had problems with this because you would have products like an inverter that at the time had a 10-year life on it, but they were giving a 20-year warranty. Can I ask a question? How do we put a warranty on something that's only gonna last 10 years? Come on, Dan, you're a buzzkill. Don't talk about this. This is terrible. You're just killing it, man. You're saving people's lives. You're helping people. Don't you understand? You're helping people with their energy, No, I really don't understand this. So, needless to say, people would go out and spend, think about these numbers, 50, 60, 80 grand on solar. They would have a payment. Let's say the guy's payment was $1,000 a month and they got him down to $600. There still was an $80,000 bill on the roof. Now, do the math. How much do you save? Your return on investment. I know of one person that did solar that actually benefited from this. My friend Bob and his wife, Erica, 3 daughters, bought a house with a pool, and they could not afford to heat the pool or the jacuzzi that was being used all the time. And the girls, lights on, everything crazy. He had an average electric bill of $620 a month. And he went and researched solar, but he didn't want to finance it, wanted to pay cash for it. So he goes out, gets all his rebates, gets this stuff. And by the way, when you get the rebates and you finance it through a construction company, the construction company gets the rebates. You never see them. It's not like they write you a check. You don't get it taken off your taxes. You lose this stuff. It gets given to them. Okay? So, needless to say, Bob goes out, researches solar, gets the rebates, federal and state at the time, and gets the solar down, installed on his house to what was going to cost him $18,000 out of his pocket. Now you can sit there and say that's a lot of money. It is, it's a ton of money. But when you have a $620 a month electric bill, it worked out to, there's that plane flying overhead with the, let me get a better shot in the shade, with the, anyways, finance your house. He went out and he figured out it was going to cost him 29 months for his return on investment. This was 12, 13 years ago when he did this. So Bob was way ahead of the game. Does that make sense? That's what you want to do when it comes to this stuff. You don't want to sit there and finance things like this and do it, but nobody has any money right now. Nobody's out putting solar on their house. Now, the final thing with solar, and I want you to think about what I'm about to tell you, and it's blazing hot out here. It's 95 degrees out here. Think about this. One of the largest investment companies that purchases real estate in the United States, they have a rule that they do not buy any house ever in their portfolio that has solar, because inevitably you have to drill into the roof. Inevitably, you get leaks that create other problems in the house. Oh my gosh, my closet's flooded. Oh my gosh, the electrical in the spare bedroom does not work. You know what I mean? It just creates one problem after another when people do this. So, with that being said, they don't buy solar. So they don't buy any house that has solar. We just stay away from it. That should be what everybody does. Okay? So, let me know what you think about this. The solar people are like, free solar panels, everything's great. It's not. It's not free. Nothing is free. And you don't own the property, you don't own the solar panels. When you lease them, it's an absolute disaster. This has to be a golf tournament, but what they did was they set up tees that are like 50, 75 yards down the fairway for people to tee off. And it's any indication, that girl nubbing her ball right there. This stellar crew. That's why I hate golf. I just cannot stand the delay. I mean, I don't have 6 hours to kill. Let's see if she gets a hold of this one. Okay. That thing went like 25 yards. That's nice. Now, final thing is leasing a car if you drive a lot. People get tempted because of a low payment to go and say, you know, honey, we'll lease the car. We just won't drive it that much. Now, in my life, a friend of mine he leased a car for his wife, and she drove 8,400 miles last year. Nothing, okay? And he did a buy down on the lease to where it was a 24-month lease, and he agreed to 12,000 miles a year, and he's way under right now, way under, okay? So that's okay. I was a sales rep. I drove 50,000 miles a year at the time, and I leased a car to get the low payment. When I went to go turn the car back in, I was 29,000 miles above my limit. Now, by the way, I added when I leased the car, I want to go with a higher mileage car, and it was 18 cents a mile. And they're like, listen, either you give us the 5,200 or you have somebody buy the car out, Dan. Go do that. I ended up having to sell the car to my friend's daughter, who bought it, to save me the $5,220 that it was going to cost me. So the problem is people don't realize this. And when you think about this, what do you drive a year? You know, I was driving a ton back then, but people right now don't get it, that they make deals and kid themselves. This story started because there was a car salesman on TikTok talking about how he had a woman walk in and she had $8,400 in excess mileage that she had to pay for. $8,400. And she said, just wrap the financing into the next car. So think about this. No matter what kind of deal she worked out in the next car, she's upside down $8,400 in negative equity. That's good math, you know? But again, desperate. People continue to do chaos. So once again, car people you don't understand. Leases are great, Dan. Solar's good, and auto pawn has its place. Everything has its place, guys, but think about this auto pawn story. There's a very famous actress who was in a movie called Basic Instinct. Her sister, okay, her husband, nice guy, he did auto pawn for high-end cars. No. Stuff that's above $150,000 or higher at the time. And this was 2008 when I heard this story. Bruce was a nice guy. I'm sure he still is. I haven't seen him in 20-some years. Anyways, that guy would go out and lend people money for high-end cars, Ferraris, Porsches, things like that, and it had to be over a set period of money. But he had cars that were $300,000 and $400,000 that he'd lend somebody $100,000 on. They couldn't make the payment, so he would keep the cars. And then he had so much inventory for cars that he had nothing but problems, and gave the people the benefit of the doubt. But that's what we're going through. We're going through an economic downturn that they could lower interest rates to the floor. Do you still have a job? You still going to be able to pay for things? Are you having a golf tournament in the middle of the day? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Not everybody can do this. Okay, as I stand in the shade. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share your horror stories too. And again, I learned more from losing than I ever did from winning. Remember that. I have given example after example of things that I've done because, well, that's pretty difficult. You know what I mean? So let me know what you think. Onward and upward, guys. Email me at hello@iAllegedly if you want to share your thoughts on any of this stuff. I'll see you soon.